Hello and welcome to Reykjavík Grapevine's newscast. My name is Valur Grettison and I'm an editor-in-chief at Reykjavík Grapevine. First of all, welcome, basically. But also, before we start the news, I just want to tell you we're still asking these questions for the newsletter. So if you want to compete in this quiz game of ours, then you can, of course, subscribe down here. And the question is, and I love this question because it's like it's a good one. Which one of these names is not a common female given name in Iceland? Is it A, Björk or Birds? Is it B, Eik or Oak? Is it C, Fura, which is pine? Or is it D, Usp or Aspen? If you actually subscribe to our newsletter and answer the quiz question, and if you win, you will actually get Rack's new book. It's called Where the World is Melting. And for those that do not know who Rax is, he is Iceland's most well-known photographers. He does nature and like striking portraits also. Just Google the man, his name is R-A-X or Rax. His actual name is Ragnar Axelsson, but this is his artist name. Let's see. Anyways, let's start it. Yeah. Hvar boltinn? Þarna hann, já. We're going to start off with COVID. And COVID is, well, our epidemiologist he says that we are in our final, this is the end game, perhaps, of the pandemic. I don't know if in the world, but definitely it feels like the end game in Iceland. Although there are a few little buts here. First of all, we have looser restrictions that will be announced tomorrow. We know this because everyone is saying, like both epidemiologists, civil guard, politicians saying that we will change this very soon on. But epidemiologists, they want to go slow about it. But the government might not see it the same way. The government is very eager to basically be done with this. But keep in mind, when politics and COVID come together, it always ends up kind of disastrous. So it's the best, in my opinion, of course, to listen to our epidemiologists and scientists. We want to go for the herd immunity. This sounded, of course, very bad a year ago when Sweden was basically going into the same way with kind of a bad result, if you will. But right now, all Icelanders, like 91% of us, are vaccinated. Not as many as had the third shot, but almost as many. This means that Omicron is not really a threat. Only 0.2% of those that have had the Omicron variant in Iceland, they have ended up in a hospital. And this is a very low percentage, and like now you could perhaps compare it to influenza, but I'm not going to do it. It's probably not accurate either. But the thing is, it takes us at least 2 months to get this herd immunity. Given that we will have 1,500 to 3,000 cases per day, which has been, we have gone the highest to 1,500. But the experts say that we just might end up in 3,000 cases if this will be the case. Also, we have changed our rules when it comes to quarantine. For example, children under 16 years old that have been affected, if they have been exposed to the virus, they are do not and if they were exposed outside of their own home, they don't really have to quarantine. They're just out of the woods, basically. The reason for this is obviously that both children are not getting very sick from this, if at all, and not only that, they are not spreading it that much to other people. I think that's it, at least that's the logic. But the thing is, of course, that we still have a pretty bad situation when it comes to deaths. I mean, it's not, of course, when it comes to other countries, it doesn't sound bad, basically. But from the beginning of the pandemic, we've lost 45 lives in this pandemic. Almost all of them are elderly people. But it doesn't mean that it's like it mattered less or anything. Some people have actually tried to point this out in the discussion, that it's like it's better that older people are dying than not, but I mean, it's a pretty callous way to go about it. But only in this wave, the fourth wave, from last year, 12 people have died. And this is also pretty big and bad, and perhaps we are in some ways getting more used to this. As you can see, for example, in bigger countries, in the UK and the US, it's like, I mean, what does it mean when thousands of people are dying? It's hard to relate, but for Icelanders it's easier because we are so few. But of course, this is quite stressful, of course, for elderly people that are definitely more more serious danger when it comes to the virus. Also, we still have 3 patients in critical care. That has been very stable. There are less people in the hospital, meaning that we have like a record day every day when it comes to the COVID numbers. But at the same time, I mean, it's not affecting the hospital in a dangerous way. Nonetheless, we are still in the state of emergency, so they are taking this very seriously, of course. Our epidemiologists, as well as the civil guard, say that it seems like we are on the last meters of the pandemic. Epidemiologists warn though that this could change very quickly if a new and more dangerous strain emerges. There is nothing that can say like there is no guarantee that this will go badly or not. I mean, it's basically what will happen with the strain. Perhaps the next mutation will be less dangerous. It's basically, it's 50-50 either way. So basically what this means is that Icelanders see this pandemic as in its last meters. We think this will be over and we will have a pretty normal society within few months. But keep in mind, this is not the first time that we have thought this. And this would not be the first time we would have been wrong about this. So it's really hard to say, but it's an interesting, and I can feel it even with myself, that it feels like it might be safer now than ever to open up the society. But of course, the epidemiologist has the final words in my mind. But then, of course, the government have to say yes or no to his options, however they will be. But we will definitely not see this 10 people gatherings ban any longer after. And also the bars and pubs will probably open up. And it will be interesting to see how they are going to go about it. Okay. There we have a duck. Pollý loves ducks. Pollý, you don't see her? Yes. So, into other stuff. Yeah, I'm going to tell you about this a little bit later. I'm going to tell you about Pila. Pila is a 10-year-old border collie, and she is from Bolungarvík. Bolungarvík is close by Ísafjörður in the Westfjords. Pila was actually outside on the 6th of January, and if you don't know, then the 6th of January is, we call it the 13th, and this means that it's this last day of Christmas. What we do then is that we have like bonfires, we shoot fireworks, and it's a lot of fun actually, and it's a very mystical day in the mind of Icelanders. But these fireworks though, they make these little animals pretty scared often. Not everybody is cool about it, like Pollý. She's actually very relaxed when we hear like explosions all around us. It's surprising, to be honest. But Pila, and the name basically means dart or like an arrow, and she was very scared when this happened on 6th of January, and she disappeared. She fled away because of this, and nobody knew anything about her for 20 days. Basically 500 people in the Westfjords were looking for Pila, which is quite a lot of people in the Westfjords, to be honest, and they didn't find her either. And then there was this kayak, what do you call it, a person on a kayak. He was like in the ocean rowing, and then he saw something in a very brutal mountain, what do you call it, mountain garden, where a lot of mountains are. And this area is called Ófæra. You perhaps know the show Ófærð, means trapped, but this word literally means impassable. And these mountains, they are literally impossible because they are both brutal and it's impossible to get there. But he saw something, and then the search and rescue teams, they actually flew a drone over it, and what they found was Pila, actually, still alive 20 days later. So what they did was pretty incredible, because they decided to go and climb after her, but this was not an easy task, to be honest. They had to have climbing equipment, they have to have like a lot of, like there were like 20 search and rescue people that went up there and tried to look for her, and they found her in a hole in the rocks. What happened is basically they saved her. It took them hours to get to her and more hours to get her down. And they did this in the winter, in January and in the night. So it's incredible. Pila actually is now back to her owners, and she's doing much, much better. But she survived, although she didn't eat anything. There is nothing alive in these mountains, and these dogs cannot hunt for birds or anything like that. So what they got is basically water and shelter for these 20 days. And I have to say, these border collies are really, really tough. I mean, perhaps there are a lot of like stories about this, but to be like, it's like also in January, we have had like 10 like really nasty storms. And just last weekend, there was like an orange warning in the area. So she was there in a very, like, the worst possible weather also in Iceland, in the most dangerous mountains that you can find. So, I mean, that is something, right? So, and then to the third oldest photograph ever taken in Iceland. And this is why we're actually walking here. This photo was actually found in a Danish royal photo album that they just opened up. And this photo album was not accessible for the public for the longest time, and therefore nobody had seen this before. But Inga Laura Baldvinsdóttir, she's a historian, she found the photograph, which seems to have been taken close to Suðurgata downtown. This is exactly where we are now. We think this is the place. Perhaps can we see it from here, or? The photo is said to have been taken by Sigfús Eymundsson in the 1870s, but Inga saw that the photo had a very different style, and when looked at even better, she saw that the name of a French photographer named Louis Rousseau, and that man was a photographer for Prince Bonaparte. And not to be confused with Napoleon Bonaparte, by the way, the Great. The prince traveled around Iceland in the Nordic countries in the 1850s, and 40 photos were taken in Iceland in this time. The photo of Reykjavík Church and the church, you can see it here. Let's go here. It was actually taken, and this is the only one that they have preserved, except one other photo, which is a portrait of a young woman that is in a museum in France, actually. I'm not sure where exactly, but it would be lovely to see it though. So this is of course interesting, because we don't have many photos from Reykjavík that is this old. And yeah, at this time also, we had like photographers in Iceland. They were doing portraits. The oldest photos in Iceland are portraits, and probably a portrait of an older woman who used to be a headmaster at the college called Kvennaskólinn, or the girls' college, and she is actually yeah, probably the oldest one. So we don't know much more about it, but so this is the third one, that is the oldest one, and is of this area, and you can just see off the photo how just different everything is, and how, I don't know, like how just much of a farmer society were at the time. And the last news, and it's good we're here because we have sports in the end. Yeah, So, Icelandic handball team is basically the only thing that keeps this nation sane these days, to be honest. It's cold and it's stormy and we can only be inside, but these guys are actually unifying the nation, because you remember when I was talking about them the last time, they were not doing too hot because basically they were having getting COVID. 10 of these guys got COVID. But none of them got sick, like badly sick. This was like minor symptoms that they were having, if any. And they basically did so well after this that they won most of their games, not all of them. And they did so well that we actually had a shot going into the quarterfinals in the end. But enters the goddamn Danes. Nobody likes the Danes. Well, not today at least. And the Danes, they are of course the world champions. They were like safe to go to the finals, and they had one game which was basically with the friends. Instead of like having their strongest team meeting the friends, they took their basically B team just to let all of their best players rest for a while before the final game. But this meant that they lost actually the game, the Danish, because it didn't really matter. But because they lost the game, we didn't qualify into the semi-quarters, the semi-finals. Therefore, basically, we ended up now playing for the 5th seat, which is still a pretty damn good result, in my opinion, especially when like 10 players had COVID. And so it's quite remarkable. So, people on Twitter were very, very pissed because of this. So pissed that one said that we should basically stop teaching Icelandic children Danish, which is not good, but it's a good joke. And a member of the parliament in the Pirate Party, Björn Levi is his name, he actually wrote a bill that he presented the same day. It was earlier though, but he told everyone about it the same night, that he wanted to take this crown there away. Like he wants the parliament to pass a bill that this crown will be taken away. This crown is basically Frederick IX, the King of Denmark at the time in the similar time when actually Prince Napoleon was in Iceland taking photos. And when this house was built, we didn't really have any of our, like, the power of the parliament was very restricted in Iceland because of the monarchy of Denmark, which nobody likes. And the thing is that when we built it, for our money by the way, he demanded, well, perhaps we also were fine with it, to have his crown on the top of our parliament, of our democracy. Now, this is of course it doesn't age well when we have now, of course, a nation that is free and independent, but we still have the goddamn Danes on the top of our parliament. So I think, at least in my opinion, I am more than down for this idea that taking this crown away. I'm not sure anybody's going to allow this. This is, of course, a very historic building and so on. But if there is any justice in the world, we would basically be the Euro champions, of course, in handball, and this goddamn crown will be taken down. So that's it for the newscast today. Like, of course, and subscribe and comment if you have any opinions about the Danes. The Danes are fine, but just nobody likes them. Just don't tell them about that. But beside that, Pollý is doing very fine. And we have to show you a picture of this actually. We also got a very nice like a wool statue of Pollý sent to us the other day. It was really, really nice. And thank you a lot for sending that to us. Já, are you a star? She's a star and doesn't even know it. So, until next time, goodbye.